What is going on, everyone? Commodore Laz here. I did not think I would actually go ahead and talk about this ever in a video, because normally whenever I get into a series, whenever if I'm experiencing something, I normally get to the end point, put up a comment here or there on Twitter, and then that's about it, right? And then those who know me will talk to me about it and everything. But for the past few days, I've really just been like in this mindset where I just can't get it off my mind about this series. A human being is writing this thing week in and week out, weekly. Akasaka's masterpiece, Kaguya-sama, man. I have to give some background first, because I think this was in the winter of 2018, going into 2019. The anime for Kaguya-sama was supposed to be coming out, and shout out to my guys Tim, Elias, Quentin at the time, who were saying, this is something you should probably check out because it's going to be one of the next big things when it comes to the medium and stuff. And I was like, okay, I'll check it out. And I should pre-warn say this, because depending on how my emotions are talking about it, right? Romance series are my Achilles heel, my weakness, and it's not good for my health in so many ways. And I was told about this being a rom-com, so a balance of two things I really enjoy, comedy, and then of course with the romance. And I had watched the first season, and I really enjoyed what I saw from it. Just seeing the relationships, the connections, the bond, and everything between Kaguya with Miyuki, with Chika, and my boy Ishigami. And it was so good. Fireworks. There's going to be so many things I want to talk about in this, but Fireworks itself, the arc, is where I really started to enjoy the bond between the whole cast and stuff, and the lengths that they were going to, towards, the whole being able to be with Kaguya in the moments that she never got to experience and enjoy in her life. She never got to really go out because, again, her family situation, which we're going to definitely go more into that, and how much it was hurting my heart and soul that this poor girl couldn't even go to enjoy the things she wanted to with her friends because of the status she was under, with her family, with Ganon and them. But it didn't matter to Miyuki. You want to go see those fireworks? I'll make it happen. And shout out to Hayasaka for being so goat as she is, helping Kaguya out, trying to get the meetup, and then when she pulls up at the spot and everyone's going home and she realizes that she got there late, and she's just there in the alley just in tears, that she just wanted to spend that time with the people she was with, but of course because she wants to spend that time with Miyuki. And we know the first one to confess loses and all that, but it slowly shows how the relationship starts to intensify over time. And my guy comes in and just says, look, you want to still see it? I'll help you out. I got you. And they make their move in the car, finally getting to see the fireworks. But Kaguya just can't. She can't look at the fireworks because she's so enamored by what she's seeing with Miyuki. And that's really where, in that first season, I started to just really like the main cast itself, because, the bond that they had together with everyone. And I just was like, I might want to check out the manga, but I want to wait until season 2. And then season 2 happens, and my lord. Good. It went from good to great. It went from good to great. Because you give me so much flame content. The chaotic election arc. And at the time with the anime, I wasn't the biggest fan of Ino, but I have a far different appreciation for her character and everything. The way that Akasaka had just crafted her in the manga, and my emotions were all over the place throughout this whole damn series. But the election, when you see the lengths that Ishigami went to make sure that she was to be fine, to be protected because of what she had gone through in middle school and all that stuff, you know, and before coming up here, you know, the way she was treated because of the fact that she grew up under people that represented justice itself, and she wanted to go down that same path. And yet it's something that kids over time just, they don't care. They want to break the rules. They want to do things on their own terms. And because of that, she's marked as an enemy, but she wasn't doing anything that was wrong. And very few people could come to understand her, and like Osaragi, but Ishigami though. And it was just so good, and just having Ino and them being part of the group and stuff afterwards. But then the arc came where I was like, we're watching this when season 2 is happening. And when I got done with episode 11, I was just like, look, man, I want to just jump onto the manga. Because, yo, Yu Ishigami is the GOAT. Like, oh my god. Sports Festival. His flashback. Because it was built up for some time, chapters prior and everything, right? That there was this whole concept and stuff with Ishigami being labeled as a stalker because of what happened back before he entered high school and stuff, the whole incident with Ogino and Otomo and everything, right? And very few, like, people just assumed like the whole situation with the soccer stuff. But then when you get the truth of what happened at that time, and my guy, he knew at the moment that he it's so hard to ponder, man, because look, he didn't have a liking relationship. Like, he didn't like Otomo, but seeing what was going on with her and Ogino, you know, because he was someone that was kind of seclusive, someone that really wasn't trying to be with people. And Otomo was someone that, you know, at least was trying to be like a comforter, like someone that, you know, try to acknowledge him, like make the day better kind of thing, which ties into another character afterwards, which is a whole different emotional whirlpool and stuff. But then when Ishigami's like learning the truth of what was going on with Otomo and Ogino and what Ogino was doing to her, and my guy, rightfully so, laid the smackdown on him. And then it gets backfired completely, where he's labeled to be a stalker and stuff, and then everyone just ate it up. And he didn't try to tell the truth because he knew that if he did, it was going to hurt Otomo in the long run, and she was going to be ridiculed and just hurt by so many people. So instead, my guy just said, you know what? I'll carry that burden. I'm not going to apologize to Ogino for what had happened. And he was locked in that room. He was told to write the apology, but no matter how many times he tried to, you know, to write it down, his heart told him that he did the right thing by punching this dude in the face and trying to mangle him, because what he did was wrong. He couldn't believe that somebody would do something like that. And I was just like, I was completely like destroyed inside, because it's like when you're seeing through the flashback, and then in the present time when Otomo had pulled up during the sports festival, when Ishigami was hoping that, you know, he's be able to have a good time with the people he was with and stuff, trying to open up and everything, and then his world's like crashing down, and then he gets reminded afterwards that he had a savior, somebody who came in at the time of his need, in Miyuki. And he's like top 2 for me, man, but it's so tough because there's so many characters I love. Like, my top 3 is more or less solidified, and it changes around sometimes, but, you know, with Ishigami, Miyuki, and Kaguya, but that bond between Miyuki and Ishigami is so special, man. Because when they learn, Miyuki, Kaguya, and Chika, about what was going on, that there was a student that got enrolled into high school but hadn't been attending classes or anything because of certain stuff that was going on, and they did the background check to make sure, like, you know, what was going on, to learn the truth and everything. And then when Miyuki, like, when he did what he did to try and help him out, revealing that, you know, like, Ogino and Otomo had broken up, that he didn't say anything about what was going on because of out of fear of what was happening with, you know, with him and Ishigami, and was able to try and get him to say, like, yo, like, you're finally free. Like, you don't have to worry about this burden no more. You can keep on going with your life. But now you can finally write down and say what it is you want to say. And when it built up to that moment, when Otomo's like cursing him out, and he ties the headband back on and says, "Go to hell, jerk." I was like, bro, this is my goat. Because my man carried the burden. He didn't want to ruin the smile he was trying to protect, but finally could say what was on his heart and say, nah, I'm allowed to be happy. I'm allowed to enjoy my life. I'm allowed to be who I want to be. And says, look, I'm no longer looking back at my past. I'm moving forward to my future, bro. And it was so beautiful, dude. And then you have like stuff like Ito like cheering him on and everything, because again, she had to slowly start to realize over time and stuff, even though in the moment, but it's like over time and everything, right? Because of what Ishigami was doing for her in that moment, Ito doing that for him. And even when he lost the race, my guy opened his eyes. Like, I was just so in my emotions, because the whole time when I was watching this, I'm like, why am I not seeing like the eyes and stuff for a lot of these characters? But then when the Giga Brain moment happened, and I realized that Akasaka's brain is just in a different realm, and the man wants to say that he doesn't understand what's so special or unique about the series, but let's be honest, man. When you have a masterpiece, the only thing you can do is downplay it, because you know how it is. You try and hype it up, people are going to try and clown it. So that's his way of dealing with things. But we know that Akasaka's pen is opium. Like, it's something different. And when they all opened their eye, like he opened his eyes and saw them and their faces and everything, he realized, man, like, look, I've kept my eyes closed to the things that were in front of me, the things that were like putting their hand out to be there with me and stuff, you know, to just have a friendship, something. Like, that was just so powerful, man. It was just absolutely powerful. And then after going from that, and then, you know, him just finally starting to create bonds and stuff now with the people, the cheer team and everything, you know, and then the stuff we'll get into afterwards with Tsubame, because that's a lot. I want to unpack on that for after, but... And then you get stuff like the group photo, which it's little things, but it's so awesome. Because Kaguya, when she had broken her phone, and you realize afterwards why it is that she cared about so much, you know, about that little flip phone, because of the memories she was able to build with people. And we know what their character, what she had gone through growing up and stuff. It wasn't easy for her to create bonds with people because of her family status, and just because of the personality that was warped because of, you know, who she was raised by and stuff. So for her, those memories of what she has with the student counselor are something that she cherishes. And when she lost that, it felt like she had lost that connection. And I love that moment when eventually, because she gets her smartphone, and Miyuki creates the council group on their Line account so that they can share their photos, their memories, all in that. But he never wanted to start the group until Kaga got her own phone, when she switched from the flip to the smartphone. And I'm like, man, that's what it means to have, like, great friends. Like, it's such a special, special thing, man. Like, for that arc. Because when you understand, like, you know, what it means to have, like, great friends. And, you know, just things like that. It was just so awesome, man. And after I got done season 2, I said, look, if I'm going to ever get into this manga, I want to wait until the right time comes to do so. And I remember season 3 had happened, like, it got announced and stuff in, I think, October of last year. And I was like, damn, I might have to wait again. But then as soon as March break started, or I should say Golden Week started coming in, I was like, what do I do, man? You know, like, what do I do? Like what am I going to do with this time right now with everything else on break? And I said this earlier, but certain stories are meant to be experienced at the correct times, not when you decide, like, it just happens out of the blue. Like, fate just tells you, like, go ahead, like, now you got to read it. You got to watch it. You got to play it, whatever it is. And I just said, man, look, we got to read Kaguya-sama. And I just said, you know, if I'm going to do so, I'm going to read from the very beginning, from chapter 1 to where 101 is, where the end of the second season, and then we go in from there. And I have appreciation for so much of the stuff that's there because a lot of the story material that was said in the manga, done in the manga, I have a better appreciation for a lot of things, especially for Ino's character. I was someone that wasn't the biggest fan of how the anime was handling her and stuff, but I think it's because I had the Ishigami moment where my eyes were closed and I didn't really get to see that side. So the way that the manga presented it, I have a better appreciation for Ino's character. And I understand her completely of where she's coming from with the later stuff and all that. But and then I get past season 2 stuff and we get into new content. And let me say this, man. 102 to 225. It was just an absolute roller coaster of emotions. Culture Festival is an absolute masterclass arc. But before that, because, you know, I always wanted to know, like going into it before, right? Because it was starting to really tease that things were about to heat up with a lot of the relationships that were going on and stuff, right? Especially with Miyuki and Kaguya. And, you know, going back to the teacher conference and stuff, when we learned that Miyuki was going to be going off to Stanford at the end of the term and stuff, for the year and stuff, for year 3, so in September. The following year, he was going to go away to America. And he realized that he didn't have enough time left to try and be able to get Kaguya to confess to him. So he's like, look, if I can't get this confession out of you by the time the end of the Culture Festival happens, I'm going to be the one who does it. And then it was one of those things where I wanted to see how things were going to pan out, you know, from the early beginnings to like this moment, because obviously they have a like for each other, but what started it? And chapter 121, like just getting to see what led to Miyuki like liking her, it is just so awesome, man. Because obviously this is the ice cold Kage, which we'll get into in a sec after a certain point. But when that happens, right, when she went to go and save somebody, when Miyuki had the hesitation, like, what am I supposed to do and stuff, and Kaguya just acted, she just did. And granted, in her personality at the time, she said, well, if I help her out and stuff, right, because of her family's connection, so she owes me and all that. But she hates people that have hesitation, that they're afraid to sacrifice themselves, so they wait for someone else to do so. And it was in that moment that Miyuki kind of realized, you know, what kind of person Kaguya was at the bottom of his heart. Like, just the perspective and all that. And how that really made him start to understand that's where he really started to like her, like to get to know her and all that. And then we see, of course, Kaguya's perspective after, like, you know, with the challenges for, you know, the school exams, you know, the rankings and all that. And then it built up to Culture Festival for 2 groups. Like, really Miyuki and Kaguya, but then Ishigami and Tsubame, which I want to save that more for after. I really want to focus on the Miyuki and Kaguya one, because they really nailed it out of the park. Like, everything that was built up. My guy Miyuki coming out here repping arson. I don't know if this is a shoe or not, if it was during the time when Persona 5 was like really hype or not, or if he just said, you know what, we're gonna keep it classical and just go with the legend itself. So when that whole thing happened where he went and stole like all the hearts, he was preparing something, and I knew something was gonna happen, right? He was preparing all the hearts and all that, right? And now they're getting to spend that time together at the festival, like, you know, like nonchalantly trying to ask each other to go out and all that. They're trying to be connected, but then of course things get in the way, stuff that's happening, like, you know, kind of just separates them a little bit before the stuff that comes to happen. And chapters 135 and 136, I need to stress this out, because as much as I enjoy double spreads, sometimes I'm one of those people that doesn't like it when they're overdone in a way where you don't get to appreciate what impact they're supposed to have because of a significant moment. When I saw when Kaguya finally met up with with Miyuki at the top of the school roof and stuff. And this, the way they met up was on some like Conan stuff, man. Like when Conan met like Kaito Kid first time, like it was like one of those like little moment things, right? And they had their talk and stuff about what was going on with them. And he just said, man, look, the time is now. I gotta tell you how I feel. Like, when those hearts went up into the sky and that double spread, now do you get it? Like, oh my god. My heart was just an absolute, like bliss. It was like joy inside, man. I'm like, man, he waited so long to finally say this, and he finally got to say it. And when she was able to, like, replicate, like, those same feelings afterwards, when she realized, like, you know, when Miyuki had said, like, you know, I want you to come Stanford with me and everything, and we know what comes of it after and stuff, but it's like, for Kaguya in that moment, man, she's just like, look, I completely get where you're coming from, how you feel about me, but this is how I feel about you. When she went in for that kiss, man, the double spreads have so much impact, because with the heart, like, covering and stuff, and then you learn what it is exactly, what kind she did to him, and then it just speeds up a process into things that go on afterwards at a certain point. But it was just wholesome. It was just so wholesome just to finally getting that moment, right? Just being able to get it. And they go on to, like, pretty much confirm to one another that they like each other, right? Like, you basically think that's just a confession. But there's so much more to it, though. Like, people just don't think that's just, you just tell someone you like them and then that's it. Because when chapter 141 dropped, when I was reading that in the volumes, I took it as a joke, right? Prior to this chapter, you have Darkside Kaguya, you had aloof Kaguya, you had all these different personalities. And I just thought it was just a gag, right? It was just gonna be whatever. But they had teased a lot that she had a different personality back then and stuff and everything, right? When that moment happened, when she had fell asleep on some, like, Ken Kaneki stuff and woke up and took off the hairpiece and turned into Ice Kaguya, I was like, oh my god. I was so shook. Like, I just couldn't believe, like, that's something that Akasaka was actually going to go through with. And it turned out to be one of my favorite things that the series has done. Because in the relationships, there's more than one side to a person. And you have to be able to come to understand that there's more to somebody than just what's on the surface of what you see from them. Like, once you have that connection with them, now you're going to see what it is that makes that person who they are, and whether if you can keep up with it. And you see that from both sides, right? Kaguya's personality that I've said was warped because of her family. How she approaches people, how neglected, how cold-hearted she can come across off as, but she did so because she didn't want to be hurted, but was hurting other people. And it was just something that she couldn't control because it's what the environment she was born in had created. And she could blame her family for causing it, right? Because I have an absolute hatred for her family. Ganan, Oko, Unyo, which we'll go into them after. But it's just that whole thing with the Shinomiyas, man. Like, I absolutely despise, like, the things that they did. You know, and because of the fact that she can't even call them, like, full siblings. They're all half siblings to her and stuff. You know, and the whole illegitimate child stuff, which that I want to save and get into after for the certain arc. But there's just so much pain. And, you know, it's not just Kaguya, too, that has that side, but Miyuki. Because of how much he despises the person that he really is, the coward that he is, he doesn't want to show that side of him to somebody because he's afraid of what they'll make of him. And you have to factor in also as well as, like, when he had lost his mom, who walked out on them because she didn't see a value in their own kid. When she went and took Kay, and then Kay came back to their family and stuff, the fact, like, when the dad had said, and it's kind of jumping forward a bit, but when the dad had said that the moment that the mom had walked on his life, that's a scar that's going to live with him for the rest of his life. And that's something that deeply affected him on such a level that, you know, he suppressed who he is to, so that he doesn't show that weak side and feel the same hurt that he did before. And it really impacted me, where it's like Kaguya was able to show that side, but for Miyuki he couldn't, because it would pretty much just send him back into that same abyss that he was in before, and would hurt him inside, that, you know, that he wasn't able to be appreciative of who he was. And just getting to see, after the two of them being able to reconcile during the winter break, like, that absolutely was like what I needed. Like, the way that whole thing was handled, where they were able to just say to each other, man, like, we gotta just be truthful, honest to each other and stuff. You know, acknowledge that we all have flaws within one another in our persons and stuff. But sometimes it's okay to have that person by your side to accept that weakness that you have. And just that whole moment, man, with them by the bench and everything, was just so special. Because you knew how much it was that they cared about each other, but it was just that it's hard to really put into words what somebody means to you during that whole entire thing. And I was just like, I was rooting for them from the very beginning, but just to see that moment happen in the winter break, that was just so special, man. And before I want to say that for the end. I want to say that like near towards the end, because that's where I'm really going to be very passionate on. But after the whole thing with the winter break, and then there's some parts of that I want to wait save. But the class trip, which to me is top 2 in the entire, it's tough, man, because there's so many arcs that are Gort, especially one of them afterwards, which when I really think about it, it's at least top 3, but this has to be top 2 for me, man. Class trip. We've known for so long that Hayasaka and Kaguya something was going to happen between the two of them, where they needed to settle some differences in terms of what they mean to each other, their connection, master and servant, and more importantly as friends. Because it was slowly but surely unraveling that Hayasaka wanted to live her own life. She wanted to finally be able to enjoy her life as a teenager and just enjoy life in general. And because of her position as Kaguya's servant and stuff and everything, right? Because of that whole thing, it was just impossible for her. Remember, her family are basically pawns to the Shinomiya family. You know, the whole thing with her mom and stuff, you know, how her previous connection and stuff with Unyo and everything. But my God, man, that stuff absolutely, like, sent me into a whirlpool of darkness and despair with a small ray of light at the end of the tunnel. When Hayasaka brought up before their trip to Kyoto that she wanted to end, you know, their master-servant relationship with Kaguya, and then how it led to the whole thing where Miyuki found out the truth about who Hayasaka was and stuff, you know, and she knew that the moment that she gets away from the Shinomiya family, that things were going to happen to her afterwards, and she really had no other allies she can look to, because she was, you know, cutting her ties with Kaguya, and that the only person that she can trust was Miyuki. And again, you see like a lot of the stuff when they're together, like early on, from like the karaoke stuff to the rap battle stuff, like just how they converse with each other and everything. And Miyuki, being the selfless person that he is, reminding her that you got friends and I'm here to help you out. And just that whole thing after of them going on the run, trying to escape away from Unyo, Kaguya meeting up with Hayasaka's mom, going to the different places, recalling their past and stuff, and the times that they spent together and everything. And leading up to the part that like that really was like the dagger into my heart, when you find out afterwards like the person that Hayasaka was talking to was actually Oko, the eldest brother of the three brothers of Kaguya. And that for 10 plus years, she was relaying information back to him the entire time about what she was doing at all hours of the day. And she admits to herself she was a coward, a fraud for not being honest with Kaguya. Especially when you go back, right, in the past, after the whole thing with, Kaguya being like, embarrassed, ridiculed by her friends because they learned that she was an illegitimate child because of the whole half-sibling stuff, the mom being dead, and people like, completely tarnishing her mom's name. And she had shared that secret with her friends, and they flipped it on her. And this was like really when she started to begin not to trust people, like that was played a part into the personality of the Ice Kaguya. And that the only person that was there for her in her time of need was Hayasaka. Even if when you see that moments and you're thinking, okay, because it's with Oko and the whole thing, but that's where I feel like really where Kaguya started to realize, even if she couldn't say it outright, that she knew in her heart that there was somebody that was watching over her and that she can trust, and that person being Hayasaka. So when the whole moment happens, when Unyo goes and chases down Miyuki and Hayasaka, and he goes and relays every single thing about how she's a traitor working for Oko to Kaguya, and how Hayasaka was saying to herself, the thing I fear the most about all this is that Kaguya will come to hate me. I don't care what happens to me, all these other things, but the one thing my heart won't be able to stand is that she's going to hate me. The person who thought of me as a friend is going to look at me as a traitor. I'm going to lose that bond with her. And this is where I want to say the double spreads and the single page with the double spreads hit home like crazy. When Kaguya was trying to hear out Hayasaka, Unyo wasn't having it. And when she threw that left hand, bro, I was like, let's go! Like, dude! She doesn't, listen, she hated traitors. She never knew how to forgive, but in that moment, she wanted to know how to forgive the person that she's known for all these years. Because you just can't separate the bond. I knew even before the punch, there's no way Kaguya was just going to completely go full trade. She's a traitor, discard her. No. Like, when the time came for them to talk and handle things, they're going to take care of it. But that moment, I needed something like that because the way things were going, and again, it'll dive more into Oko and stuff when I get to it afterwards, because that person, Ganon, Oko, Unyo, and the other brother who I haven't met yet at this point, I hope don't see heaven. The only two people in the Shinomiya family that deserve heaven is Kaguya and Nayatake. Only two. Only two. Only two. The other ones, out of here, can go. So I needed that moment. And then they were going up against the bodyguards and stuff and everything. They were trying to pull up on them. Hayasaka cutting off her hair, saying, well, you think this is a damn handle cutting off? And then putting the blade right to oh boy. I'm like, bro. Oh, man. And then Unyo running off like the coward he is, man. And just that's what it really tells me about these people, is that they're all talking stuff, but when the action comes down to it, they're cowards to me at the end of the day. And it has me really excited for the second half of the story, which I want to wait a little bit. But after that, man, the whole moments and stuff where they're talking to each other at the spot where they really became close with one another. And Hayasaka, trying to, be as honest as she can about the whole situation and how she feels regret and everything about what's going on. But then you get the moment where Kaguya then afterwards says, like, You've been suffering this whole time, and I didn't even notice. That part absolutely wrecked me so hard, man. 186. Because this series has back-to-back chapters that are so, like, precious, man. But 185, 186, 187, really. Like, 185 for the double spread, 186 for the whole talk with each other. And how they're able to just, like, finally just come to terms with one another and stuff. And, even if the bond between master and servant is done, they still have each other at the end of the day. And then 187, man. There's multiple times in the series that it made me cry. Made me cry my goddamn eyes out. Because after they had talked, she said, look, this is the end of the line for me. And then I have to go. And Kaguya goes to enjoy the rest of the trip that she can with Miyuki. When she goes home and gets ready for school the next day, when I saw her eyes go from dark to light because she realized what was waiting for her at the gate, I was done. I was done. I'm like, bro. And there's pages, there's panels that are just out of this flipping world. Like, I look at them and I think this is like the greatest stuff that you could ask for again in a series like this, man. But that page of seeing Ai with the new hairstyle and everything, with the scrunchie that she was given by Kaguya. Let's go to school together, Kaguya. The dream coming true. Like them being like, now they can just, it's no longer master and servant, it's friends. Simple as friends. Like, that sent me over the moon, bro. I was like, I love the dynamic, the bond that they have with each other, and just getting that at the end of class trip, where they go from the master servant stuff to now as genuine friends, that they can finally call themselves friends. Like, after all the times together, the relationship of Hayasaka was trying to give to Kaguya through the whole time and stuff, being really there for her for everything that was going on and stuff, through the good and bad times with Miyuki prior to the whole, like, them being a couple and stuff. And then I want to dive into one character before I dive into what I really want to talk about, which was the one that, like, there's 1A and 1B, really, in terms of the relationships that I value so much in this story. But I want to talk about one character first, and that's Miyuki's dad. This man rolled up as comedy as it could be. And I could be wrong on this. I'm going to have to double check the information. But I'm pretty sure Koyasu is the one that voices his dad. So every time I'm reading the manga, whenever he appears, I have Koyasu's voice in my head, and I'm thinking, so I'll clarify after. But Miyuki's dad is amazing, genuinely an amazing character. Like, if I were to say, like, favorite minor characters, he's honestly probably going to be up there. That guy, like I said, was comedy. Like, the man's genuinely sick in the head. Some of the stuff that was going on from, like, early in the series to, like, what happens after. My guy became a VTuber, bro. A streamer. Like, the man's out here getting banked. 50k subs. Man's getting, like, donations and stuff in the stream. Like, K will be rolling up and everything. And he would just be getting extra money. Like, it's just crazy, man. But the thing I loved about his character is how he understands how the human heart, like the relationships, love itself, the whole thing, right? Because the whole talk that he had as the fortune teller stuff, which again was comedy in itself, but the whole thing that he had talking with Tsubame, because that's what I want to dive after from this, right? The whole thing that he was talking about, like, you know, love and stuff, you know, confessions, you know, the whole meaning of what it is to confess your love to somebody, to feel the love for someone, how romance, like, you know, just sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and you never know until you try, kind of thing. How true love does exist if you really go and try to pursue it. You have to get past the starting line for that to happen. Just, it's so hard because, like, literally it's page by page by page by page where he's just dropping quotables back to back to back. And he's trying to do everything he can to, like, tell Tsubame exactly what it means, you know, to love somebody, what the bonds are and stuff and everything. And it's just such a beautiful part in the story, because then obviously, of course, when you see the date between Miyuki and then Kaguya, and then that end of the chapter leading to the relationship finally happening, where they're going out with one another and stuff. But really just because of that whole talk and stuff, and then of course how it ties into the Miyuki and Kaguya, everything. Like, I just love the dad, like the way how he was just able to converse all those feelings and stuff. Because anybody who's ever been in love with someone, right, or has liked somebody, can feel those type of things that he's saying right there, and have possibly gone through it or are going through it right now. So I just love the way how Akasaka, through him, is able to just say these things and make you feel the type of way you do. And now I have to get into the part, because I have 1A, which is the Miyuki and Kaguya. But then I have 1B. And it absolutely, like, absolutely destroyed me. And that's Ishigami and Tsubame. Backtracking to Sports Festival. When my guy opened his eyes for the first time and realized the people that are around him, one of those people that had done so much to try and get him to be able to, you know, to be happy, right? To feel like he belongs somewhere, and that, you know, to overcome the loneliness and stuff. That person that was helping Ishigami was Tsubame. And obviously, of course, you know, during that time is when Ishigami started to really come to like her as a person. And that like developed into love. And even though it's one of those things where it happened in the moment, and he didn't realize it when he had won that hard cookie and stuff after doing the whole thing, and presented to her and said, I just felt like doing this for you. And nonchalantly basically confessing to her. And how even at the very beginning and stuff of it, she was ready to reject them, because it's like they didn't have enough time to really talk with one another and stuff, to be able to have that time needed to make a relationship work. And then after their whole talk and stuff, because he didn't realize at that point that he had confessed her, he says, well, if you want, I want your answer, it's going to be in March. So you have from December into the 3-month period of emotions, where a cultural festival after they have that whole thing. And he's trying to do everything he can to improve himself, whether it be in school. He's trying to improve his ranking so that he can be able to stand at the same side as her. And the level of effort he was putting into it. And then when you're coming off winter break, and then of course you have the happiness that's going on with Miyuki and Kaguya, but then you start to see when the next page happens, and you're seeing, like, you know, Tsubame has a look on her face of sadness. You see that, you know, Ino and Ishigami are talking to each other and stuff, you know. And you're like, what the hell happened? And the sequences of flashbacks going back in and everything. Because my guy gets invited to the party and stuff with Tsubame. You know, Ino goes there, and we know about the whole thing. You know, after cultural festival and getting like the little log card and stuff, how she starts to slowly begin to like Ishigami. So they're there at that party, and eventually it leads to Ishigami thinking that he has a shot here with Tsubame, Not realizing, because she's drunk and everything. And he wanted to spend that time with her. And when she was offering herself to him, he knew that he wasn't just going to do it. He needed to say what was on his chest because he wanted to make sure it's a two-way street. It's not going to be some one way where the love is only going one place and the other, it doesn't go the other way. And when he said all those things about how great you've been to me and everything, it's not just because you're offering to me, because of how much you mean to me in that moment when he goes and confesses to her again. And then she just goes to reject it. And then he's wondering, like, then why are you doing this for me? And then she goes and says, because I was flattered about you falling for me, that she was willing to do, the deed with him and stuff. And I'm just like, I felt for him so much in that moment, because it's like he wanted to make sure that if he's going to have sex with this girl that he really enjoys being around with, that he loves and everything, it's not going to be something that's completely one-sided. Because to him, if I'm going to make love with this person, it's because I like them and they like me too. And I don't want it to be something that is just completely felt on one side and the other doesn't matter. So for him, he felt a sense of like, I don't want to be given pity for what's going on. But then he ends up realizing, like in the moment after too, that he probably hurted her and that he should have probably stayed by her side and talked things out with her, because maybe it would have helped them out. But after a moment like that, I completely get where he's coming from when he left after. It just didn't feel comfortable afterwards. And then the thought of death that was coming through his mind and stuff, and how much he hated how he just walked out and made her feel that way. And then Ino coming in to save him at the cost of breaking her arm and stuff. Because she realized like what he was going through. Even if she was drunk at the time and stuff, but she realized in that moment what he was going through. And then just that whole thing after where you see like Ino starting to fall for him and everything, but Osaragi knowing full well how dangerous this is for her, because Ishigami has looked after her, because he hated seeing people that were trying their best and being ridiculed by those that just didn't understand or never wanted to like let them prosper. He hated seeing people do that to people like Ino. So he was trying to prevent her from being broken and was looking after her. And of course, with the letter, when we find out afterwards, yeah, it was Ishigami that gave her that letter and stuff. Like, your rewards will be acknowledged. And that's my thing, because even though there's little things here and there that I wouldn't be upset completely at all. Actually, I would be fine if Ishigami was with Ino afterwards, but it's one of those things that has to be properly, naturally developed and stuff to a point where it's felt on both sides. But before that, Cultural Festival, class trip, easily top 2. But I don't know, and I have to look back on this multiple times. But if I go back and reread it, it's depending on how it gets animated. The most emotional moments of this series for me was End of Secrets arc. Before class trip was about to take off, when we saw that page where it showed Hayasaka was getting ready to talk to Kaguya about the whole thing with Master and Servant, her leaving her position and stuff. And then that bottom page afterwards where you see Osaragi having the book that Kaguya, Miyuki, and Chika kept of the records of what happened with Ishigami in the past, and how she gave that to Tsubame. And I felt it in my heart how much that was starting to scare me inside a bit of what was about to happen, because this had a lot more danger than it had of good coming from this. And when it started continuing to build up even more, like they go on their dates and stuff together. My guy wins a volleyball match, goes with her after to the Sky Tree and stuff and everything. But then she has that conversation with Otomo, and then that's where my fears were starting to really kick in, like something bad was going to happen soon. That she basically had learned the truth of what happened during that time. My guy had opened his eyes, but the curse still lived within him. The burden had still lived within him. Even if he was able to get over, like, people ridiculing him, whatever, like, he'll take it. But in the eyes of Tsubame, she realized that these next couple of years, he's still going to have those people that believe the truth of what was told to them about what happened with him, Ogino, and with Otomo, that he wasn't going to be able to enjoy his time in high school properly, at least through the lenses of Tsubame. And she wanted to make sure that he can enjoy the final times of his time as a high schooler, the final years of that, as much as he can, with a smile on his face, with people that will acknowledge him and treat him like a normal person. Even if it meant destroying the smile that he worked so hard to protect in Otomo. But Tsubame was doing that basically to free him. And it depends on how you feel about it. I've had where I respect it, why she did it. But then what came of after, it's one of those things where you're going to have to battle with yourself all the time of whether if it was the right thing or the wrong thing to do. Because when Ishigami worked himself to the bone and placed 36th in the rankings for his class, where he was able to say to himself, I can hopefully stand by her side. And then you get graduation ceremony. You know, him saying his goodbyes as captain and stuff, for looking after him and everything, the cheer squad and stuff. And that was like so good too. The end of 202, like the last page of that, gave me so much joy in my heart when he turns the corner and just goes and sees Tsubame underneath that cherry blossom tree that they talked about before, making the deal that they'll talk in March. And what I'm about to say, I think this is my favorite back-to-back chapters in the series, possibly. They're 135 and 136 are eternal for Cultural Festival. Like 185 through 187 because of what happened in Class Trip. 87 through 90 for Sports Festival. 203, 204. End of Secrets. When I turned that page and I read what was said, I'm about to turn him down. I got up, bro. I had to go for a walk because I was not prepared at all for what my heart was about to go through. The thing with Akasaka, right? And I'm pretty sure this is the message he wanted to put in here. Everybody wishes they can get with the dream girl. The one who has great looks, great personality, intelligent, all the quirky things that just makes that person special to you. But you realize it's a dream for a reason because the chances of it happening in reality are just, it just won't work. And I knew, of course, the age gap was tough because Tsubame being in her third year, Ishigami being in his first year, like trying to make that work out, I already knew there was going to be problems for sure. So when I realized, because for her, the time that they spent together and everything, there's so much that she cherished about the time that she had with Ishigami. But no matter what it was, she could not see anything else but a good underclassman that he was. And when she said that, that's where like my heart just completely dropped, because I knew that right there and then Ishigami's chances had just dropped to zero. And I fought for so long to hope that he was going to be able to pull it off. When he had confessed the last time there, and she goes and says, "I'm sorry," and then you have Osaragi and Kaguya talking, well, it's over, but Osaragi says, "No, you got to keep fighting. He deserves a second chance, third chance, whatever." And when my guy clenched the hands and said all those things in his heart, trying to shake her resolve, to make her realize the person that she's with right now might be the one. And I was hoping 204 would give me that chance, but then still reality kicks in and tells you, no, it's not going to happen. And my heart was just absolutely floored, but I get it completely, because the story had told you that the rejected are going to feel away, but the rejecter is going to feel away. We knew about Tsubame and the previous relationship she was in and how bad that had gotten. And all the other times that she has turned down people, but I hope that we stayed friends. And from a girl's perspective, that's where it becomes tough, because it's like, for a guy, we can just say, okay, whatever, we'll still be friends, whatever, right? But for her to say that to someone that she rejected their love and stuff, but hope to be friends, over time, those people would just walk away from her life, and she was left with loneliness. And she relates to that feeling that she was about to put on, because she's been in that position before. And she didn't want to hurt. She didn't want to hurt Ishigami. So this whole scheme that she had built up to help him out so that he can enjoy these final years for himself, so that he can finally become the person he wants to be. And I truly believe that's where I want Akasaka to go with Ishigami's character, that even after heartbreak, that he's able to rebuild himself and become a stronger person from this moment. So there's that part of me that appreciates where Tsubame was coming from. But then there's the other part that's further emphasized after, from Ino and Miyuki and then their talk and stuff, where it's like, you know, it makes you start to see that she did this to protect herself from being hurt. Even though she's more hurt of the fact that she's going to lose the friendship she had with Ishigami. And when Ishigami was saying those things, like, you know, it's unfair that you're rejecting the heart of my love for you, but you still want to be friends. And she knows how unreasonable, how selfish she was being. But my guy said, look, I'll believe you, but you gotta be the one to make the friendship work, because you expect those that you rejected to come back and make things work. No, you gotta be the one to do it. I just loved how Ishigami handled himself in that moment. How he stood strong and said, look, with Tsubame, it's like, you're going to see some stuff on from me, the bad side and everything, all that. You're going to be able to handle it. It's like, yeah. But you got to be the one to make sure that this thing works. You want to stay friends? You need to make it work. You rejected it. You got to make it work now. So I am hoping, and this is a sliver of hope, Akasaka could tell me in another interview, whatever it is, that we're never going to see Tsubame again. I hope to the heavens we still do. That we still get to see them interact as friends and everything. So that the message of, even if you aren't able to gain that romance with somebody, but still keep a bond with them, I hope that this is what is the case. But then there's also that selfish part of me inside that truly feels that the timing was wrong in some areas, because when Ishigami, you know, unintentionally confesses love for Tsubame, and then that whole moment's right, because I felt like had there been more time together where they were able to spend with one another and stuff, even counting in the fact that she was going to graduate, I think if they had just a bit more time before Cultural Festival, I think it could have maybe made things work out, or they would have had some kind of compromise where it's like, you know, give it a little bit more time. But I am hoping at the same time that Tsubame doesn't end up in a relationship like right away. Like I'm talking 3 years. Like I know it's selfish, 2-3 years maybe, because I feel like the moment you reject him and then jump into a relationship right afterwards, it would to me tarnish her character because of what she was trying to do for him, and then it's like you're backing out of the hurt that you cause on him that you should be feeling too in a way, and then jump into another relationship. I hope that's not what ends up happening with Tsubame. I hope that she doesn't have her role completed like officially. I know this could end her character in the story, having all this being taken care of, but I really hope that's not the case. I hope that we still get to see Tsubame in the rest of the series. We get to see Ishigami develop and become a better person over time, and maybe gets the second chance to be able to tell her these things, you know, just to actually have that connection with her and stuff, and to make her see what it is that's in front of her before ultimately deciding completely that they can't be together. And that's the selfish part inside of me. I know for sure others will say, well, you know, Akasaka already handled and stuff, but that's, again, that's me in romance series, man. I just gotta put it out there. I'm selfish like that. I need a happy ending to exist, and I need that especially for Ishigami, my favorite character in this whole series. It's him, Miyuki, Kaguya, but him especially, because look, we know Kaguya and Miyuki, they have to have a happy ending. I would be absolutely staggered if they don't get that. But Ishigami, I need him to be able to smile with a heart full of gold by the end of this story. I need that to happen. And I wouldn't be angry at all, again, with the stuff if he ends up with Ino. If they are to be properly developed over time, naturally, like organic, coming together, even though we know that Ishigami is looking after her because he doesn't want people to, you know, to ridicule her as a more of a respect as a friend. But Ino, we know, likes him, like loves him, has a crush on with him. And I'm hoping that it doesn't jump straight into that coming off of this. I know some time has passed from 203, 204 to where we are at 225 or 226 whenever this comes out, the next chapter. But I really hope it doesn't just jump straight into that, because I feel like it would take away a lot of those moments from the end of Secrets, and it could build towards something even better. Like, you know, let's say he ends up in that relationship with Ino, right? And then Tsubame comes back into the picture, and then he has to rewind the clock and go back and do a whole 203, 204 to Tsubame or something. Like, there's so many ways it can go into, but I'm hoping that if Akasaka decides to do Ishigami Ino, that's naturally handled. And if not, I'm hoping that, for my selfishness, that somehow, some way, even with this heartbreak, the friendship that they have together maybe can open the door that there is still a chance for Ishigami and Tsubame to get together. But again, like I said, that's just a selfishness inside of me that wants it. Because Tsubame recognizes how great of a person he is. And why can't platonic and, you know, romantic relationships be one? Why do they have to be separate? But I'm telling you, man, like, I think they needed more time together for it to work out. But man, I know Secrets is top 3. And then, of course, we get into where the end game. Like, this story, now I feel like we're practically in the second half of the story. I don't know, some people, I've after getting caught up, I had to look back and check things just to make sure. I've heard people say this is the final arc, the final saga, the second half of the story. And I'm more inclined to believe second half of the story, because for all the things that I brought up, again, the whole Ishigami Tsubame stuff, but mainly what is about to happen now. Because right now in the current timeline, we have to know, by the time we get to September, Miyuki's off to Stanford, he's going to America. We know the whole thing that's happened now with Kaguya. She's basically rescinded her offer and stuff to Stanford, basically because of what's going on with Oko and the stuff that he's plotting with her and everything. You know, trying to get her an arranged marriage and all this other stuff. The war that's going on between the Shinomiya family and the Shijo family. Mikado being brought in after the whole India chapter stuff with Maki, and now he's pretty much been brought in as an antagonist. I don't trust him. I was looking at things after getting caught up about like the counterparts of different like little story things and stuff, and how he's supposed to be the love counterpart and stuff to Kaguya. Which, look, man, I need Miyuki to box him. If there ever comes a time where this dude tries something on Kaguya, I need Mikado in the dirt. I have no beef with Maki. It is what it is, but your brother gotta go. Plain and simple. Like, just that's like my worries and stuff, man. Because with Kaguya, it's like when they come together and stuff to go and check out his place because he's moving and everything, and then, you know, they have that conversation together and stuff, and then they realize, you know, like, more things that happen over time too, because you start to learn afterwards why exactly it is that Miyuki is the way he is, because of the talk and stuff with the father and everything, right? You know, the mom pretty much, after losing their company and stuff, right, the mom's perfect life came to an end. She realized that Miyuki wasn't the one that she could bank her hopes on for success, put that on Kei, and those scars of being rejected by his mom is something that Miyuki has to live for the rest of his life. But Kaguya, of course, realizing that the reason why his family went completely south, went down to the ground, was because of the Shinomiya Kagurumans. And that whole talk and stuff, where she talks about how she's going to rescind the offer, the occult thing, and how that she wants them to still chase for their dreams, but they're going to have to go their separate ways to do so. Meaning that, you know, Miyuki's going to have to go to Stanford, accomplish what he needs to in those 4 years. Kaguya has to build some kind of repertoire, an army essentially, to get ready to go to war against these people, her own people. And that's where you have the whole thing after, where everybody's together and stuff in the same classroom and stuff. You know, all of her friends, so, you know, because of what the principal's doing, you know, bringing in, I think, Hikaru Obayashi and stuff, you know, the teacher, you know, and the whole thing of basically trying to give her as many allies as possible to prepare her for the fights that are to come in the second half of the story. I don't see this thing ending anytime soon. Maybe, let's say, 2 to 3 years from now. But again, it depends on what Akasaka wants to do. Does he want to just basically, you know, be done with the comedy bits and go straight serious for the rest of the way? I don't know if that's going to be the case. I feel like we're still going to get mixes here and there and stuff of the comedy, but over the next few years, we're going to be getting like completely serious stuff throughout everything that's to come. We still have to know who the other middle brother is of Kaguya's, because we don't know that person yet. That person could be working with Mikado based on the conversation that he had on the phone, saying, "Oh, it's a pointless phone call." Da, da, da. But we know that the Shijo group is going after the Shinomiya in this whole war. That by summertime, it's going to explode. It's going to be on a level that's like nuclear war. And then you have after where Miyuki's going to be going off in September, leaving, where the whole council's going to be disbanded after. Like, there's so many things. And then it's like, again, you have where Ishigami and Ino are together. We don't know like how their characters can be handled, right? To be able to withstand what to come for the war itself, but for them as people, you know, is Ishigami going to be able to become the person that he needs to be? Is there possibilities of me having slivers of hope, a 0.1% chance that maybe the friendship that he has with Tsubame, there's still a chance that she can see exactly that the time that they have together with each other as friends, that she needs to make the effort for, that there is a chance at the end of the day that something can still happen. Like, there's just so many things, man. The new characters that I brought into the mix, again, with the teachers, Makeya Sensei, and all that. Shiranui, the first year of the Impossible Girls and stuff that now is in the same grade and stuff as Ishigami and Ino. Like, we don't know if it's going to cause some kind of tension, whatever. Like, we don't know. There's so many things. And I'm so glad right now that I get to be a part of the weekly experience when it comes to Kaguya-sama. Like, I'm so glad of the times now that I get to be a part of something special at the early stages of the second half of the story, or the end game, essentially. I'm very excited for where things are about to go. But this series is truly special, man. The way that Akasaka is able to, you know, delve into the human heart and to be able to just, you know, understand human beings, their emotions, what they enjoy, what they dislike, how they operate around their significant others, the people that they talk to with friends and stuff, like all those things. It's like they get how a human works. And the fact that he wants to say that he doesn't get why people think this series is especially unique is absolutely bonkers. But again, when you have a masterpiece, you got to downplay it as much as possible, because when you hype it up, then it's like you get problems after. So I get it if it's the way he's doing. But come on, man. Kaguya-sama is absolutely amazing. I'm so glad I got into this series and decided to read it from the very beginning to where we are right now at 225, 226 coming out. I don't know if this is something I plan on covering in the channel, But if enough people want me to talk about it, man, look, I have no problems adding another dimension to the channel and showing you guys another side that I really, really love and I've kept to myself in this romance series. And just the emotions that come with it, man. So even if I'm late to the game and stuff, I would love to be able to like just talk about the second half of the story weekly if possible. But I don't know how long this thing's going for so long, man, but I don't even care. I wanted to just come on here, get the freaking microphone and stuff, get the damn script written out. But I just said there's no way I can do that. Because like for how long this has been, there's no way I can cut that down to 10 minutes, 20 minutes. There's just no way. When you have something that is that special to you, how much it impacts you, how much it hits you in the soul, like I have to talk about it like this. There's no way. And I have to give a shout out to my boy King Recon, because he's somebody that can do things like this and not give a damn about algorithms and whatever, and just convey his feelings into what he loves and enjoys. And that's my guy. We talk on multiple occasions about things that we enjoy from everything, man. And the fact that he has that mentality where you can just go and sit back and talk and just enjoy just speaking about greatness, man. I'm like, look, I don't give a damn about the algorithm anymore. I don't give a damn about, you know, trying to be formal, trying to be presentable. You get the good, bad, and the ugly, man. Like, that's how we're going to have to do things. And I'm glad that of all the times I've chosen to do that, it's going to be for Kaguya-sama. And hopefully it happens for other series too. I would love to do it more like this. You know, even if it comes across off as rambling, even if it comes off as incoherent, I don't care. Like, just to be able to do this, man, get this weight off my chest. I felt for the last few days after catching up, I'm like, how do I want to be able to talk about this series and the things I enjoyed? I have to do it like this, man. So let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Like your feelings on Kaguya-sama. You know, what do you thought about the things I talked about in here? If you share any, you know, the thought process, conscious, like whatever it is, man. Like whatever, if you are of understanding of where I'm coming from for certain things, or even in disagreement, I really want to know how you guys feel about a lot of the stuff that's going on, from the whole relationship stuff with Miyuki and Kaguya to the stuff that happens with Ishigami, and then of course with him, Tsubame, stuff with Chika. I don't even give Chika enough love, man. That girl is absolutely hilarious. She might be sick in the head in some areas, but she's absolutely hilarious. The father Shirogane is a goat, man. I love, and Hayasaka. Oh my god, man. There's times where I'm like, yo, that's my best girl. Like, I absolutely adore. I need her to be happy too, man. Like, every character, I need to be happy. But her especially. Ishigami and Hayasaka are my top two. I love Kaguya. I think she's one of the best female MCs you can ask for. The way that her personality is delved through the entire story, and how she grows into the person she is now, trying to rip away what made her what she was because of her family, because of the times that she has now with these people that she's with, the friends and her lover in Miyuki. And I didn't even talk about what, bro, 220, like 219, 220, like the whole sequence. They, like, listen, man, Akasaka's a goat for even doing that stuff. Like the way it was handled, them doing their one time together, a happy time. Like, they kept it true to the story. They did not go and delve off script and try to do a 125 Tokyo Ghoul read. No, they kept it as it should be in this series. And the way that it happened, I'm like, man, that is gold. You know, and then it's just like the interactions and just the reactions in general from everything that was happening. Hayasaka, the way she's just like, you know, like, you explain what's going on and everything. Like, I just love it, man. Like, Miyuki and Kaguya's relationship is just so goddamn special. It's one of my favorite dynamics that I've seen when it comes to a couple relationships and stuff in manga anime. But, man, like, just that stuff was so goat. And then, like, what we're getting into right now, which I feel like, even though it looks like it's starting to ease in a little bit from the chaos, I feel like we're going to jump back into it soon. But I was about to forget about that, but I couldn't, bro. That part was just so gorgeous, bro. Like, how I led into it. My guy wanted, like, I feel like he was speeding enough, and he wanted to take his time, and then it just happened. Like, it just naturally happened, man. So, shout out to them. But, man, there's just so much I cannot wait to, like, experience with this story. And I'm hoping it goes on for, like, another 2-3 years. As selfish as I am for wanting that, I need it to happen. You know, 2 or 3 more years. let things develop and prepare itself into a process where after by the time we get to the end of the story, Akasaka's masterpiece is crafted in a way where we've seen the good, bad, and the ugly, and everyone's prepared and ready to go, you know, into the directions they need to in their life, you know, whether it be the couples being together and stuff with Miyuki and Kaguya, Ishigami finding himself as a person, and whether that means being with Tsubame, whether it means being with Ino, that whole thing, and then of course everybody else in general that's there. But man, I can't wait. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below in regards to Kaguya-sama. Let me know, as fellow manga readers, when you're reading this weekly, like, what were your emotions like experiencing this content, like Cultural Festival, the stuff that you got to see after with, like, you know, class trip, the winter break, the Ice Kaguya, like all these things that were happening. I need to know what that was like for you guys down in the comments below. And let me know if you want me to talk about Kaguya-sama weekly. Like, look, when I talked about Haikyuu on the channel, I've been watching and reading for a minute. Jumped into reading it, but again, when I covered it, it was on like the 230s, 240s. I have no problem doing this right now for Kaguya-sama. If enough people want me to talk about this series, I will gladly do so. Even if I have to go against the algorithm and not give a damn about it, I might have to, man. I gotta talk about the greatness that is Akasaka's masterpiece. So tell me your thoughts down in the comment section below. Like the video if you enjoy. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new here. If you stuck around to the end of this video, y'all are real ones. Okay? Because I get it, man. So ramblings might not be for everybody, but it's like, when you love something, man, you gotta talk about it. You gotta discuss it in the detail you can. But again, thoughts down in the comments below about Kaguya-sama. I'm probably gonna put down afterwards in the comments because, you know, like the top 5, like characters, the arcs and stuff. But I don't know. There's times I want to try and do for a video, but I might just write down in the comments just for whatever. But let me know your thoughts. And again, tell me if you guys want me to cover this series week in, week out. I don't know how many people are covering this series right now, but I would love to talk about it. Like, this is a special series that is just absolutely phenomenal and deserves to be sung the praises of it day in and day out, night in and night out. Like, it just has to be. But again, let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Like the video if you enjoy. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new here. If you want to be part of the weekly experience when it comes to my coverage of just about whatever goes on here on this channel. Hopefully maybe a Kaguya-sama. Subscribe if you haven't already. Click on the bell to door so that everything that goes on the channel. With that being said, I will catch you guys in the next video. We'll see what goes on from here, man. If I do cover Kaguya-sama, prepare for what's to come. The emotional roller coaster of romance, comedy, greatness. What a special series, man. Like, it really is. It's a masterpiece by Akasaka, and hopefully I do get to talk about it. Commodore last signing off. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, take care. Going crazy, yeah, we go.